3 or 4 things at the same time. You know, I can listen to TV, I can be on my phone, I could be doing, you know, some writing and doing this at the same time. It's almost like we're an octopus, you know, and and we feel as if we have all these, you know, sort of extensions in our mind that we can just do this and do this and do this and do this. And I don't know if you know that the research shows that it's actually not a good thing anymore to multitask to the extent of trying to get quality work done. You know, like if you want quality work in anything, like you need to have dedicated time in that whatever thing that you're doing, you know? You need quality attention to that detail and to that thing, whatever you're doing. It's hard actually to multitask. And what happens when you do multitask is that your quality goes down. Like it's just a fact. It's like the research supports it. So much research has gone into this, you know, this idea of multitasking. And quality suffers when you are constantly trying to multitask. So yeah, just remember that, you know, if you want quality work, like if you want to have better work, I think you all know that, you know, if you put and dedicate like your time towards one task, like one assignment at a time, you know, you will find yourself to have higher quality work, right? And a lot of my friends that are in jobs right now, some of them and some of their colleagues are getting fired and moved around because, you know, the bosses are seeing them, you know, on their phones and stuff like that. And so this is just a very big issue because they realize, you know, the quality of their work, whether they're computer programmers or they're medical assistants or nurses or business people, whatever kind of work they're doing, the quality of their work is actually suffering because they're not paying attention to detail. Like they're not paying attention to you know, things that they should be paying attention to. Like for example, like if you're a medical assistant or a nurse in a hospital, you know, and like, you know, there's somebody that comes in that needs help and you're just kind of like not really worried about like what's going on, but this person is like complaining about, you know, something in their body, and then the nurse or the medical assistant that's supposed to check them in is not really paying attention. You know, like they could, you know, they could actually get sued for those kinds of things if you're not really, you know, being very cautious about what's going on. So same thing with a lot of the things that we do. Quality suffers, quality goes down the more things that are going on in our mind. All right, and I just, you know, want to emphasize that, you know, if you are planning to continue to do many things all at once, you know, the quality is not going to be that good. The quality, you might get lucky every now and then. You know, sometimes people get lucky in doing, you know, sometimes the task that you're doing doesn't take much work to begin with. But if the task that you're being asked to do like demands like certain detail and quality, like you realize that you actually need to focus on those things. So just remember that lesson. Quality suffers when you are, you know, doing too many things at once. You gotta like focus. This is also important in relationships too. Like if you want a better relationship with your friends or with your family or with your significant other or whatever, like if you're like, for example, you know, eating, you know, dinner or something like that, you know, and you're always on your phone and you're not like having quality discussions with your person across the table. It could be your parent, it could be your family or whatever. Like the quality of your relationship is going to be very like, superficial. Like until you start like putting down your phone and just like talking with your friend or whatever about issues, about different things. You just share your opinions about this. You joke around and you do, things. Then like what happens is the quality of your relationship goes up because you're starting to understand, them more deeply, and you're starting to understand them a lot more, intimately in regards to their views and everything like that. And you can joke around and you can do other things like that. So if you notice in our society, and this is a very sad, pandemic or epidemic, is that many people, when they're sitting together, a lot of people, like when you just people watch, a lot of times like everyone's phone is out. It's like, it's sad. It's like, it's a super sad thing. A lot of families nowadays, they have a rule where you have to put all, I don't know if you guys have this in your family, you have to put your phones like all in the center of the table or something like that. I think that's such a good thing. Because like if you're just on your phone and like how are you guys gonna like your relationship gonna be of any quality? And how is it gonna go up if everybody is like all distracted and multitasking and trying to do this and trying to do that? This is it's a sad state of affairs that we have to be intentional. And so that's the other word I want to talk about today is intentionality. Intentional. Like you guys know what that means? Intentional or intent or intent. Intentional is a very good word. Like you have to be intentional nowadays to the things that are in your life. Like you have to be intentive. Like you have to have intent behind the things that you're doing. So when you are feeling lazy, when you're feeling like you have no motivation or whatever, you have to remember like your purposes. You have to remember like your goals in your life. You have to remember like what you want in regards to the things that you're doing. Like when you're intentional about things, when you have like intention and purpose, intentional is like the same thing as purposeful. Like when you have intention or you have purpose, then the things in your life start to become more quality, because for example, like if you're sitting, going back to the example of sitting at a table with friends or family or whatever, like if your purpose is to build, strong relationships, and that your purpose is to get along, with your family and friends, and you want more, intimacy and whatever, then you will do things to get to that point. Like you would put your phones in the middle of the table, or you would just put it down and start talking with people, Like you have to be purposeful though nowadays, even more so. Because if you're not purposeful and you're not intentional about your life, like the things around you are going to take over. You'll spend hours and hours on YouTube, or you'll spend hours and hours on Netflix or something like that because you have no intention. Like you have no purpose in regards to getting your work done or accomplishing your goals or having any sort of purpose in your life, because you just want to not even think about those kinds of things. And the Bible is very clear that when God created you and me, like He created you with purpose. And I just wanted to finish with this from the creation week again. There's so much that can be said in Genesis, like about where we come from and what our purpose is. It says this: "Let us make man in our image, according to our likeness, and let them have dominion over the sea." I think we talked about this. And God created man in His own image. God created us with intention. God, in his being, is very purposeful. Like he always has like goals in his mind. You know, and when he created us just like him, like that means that we are created with purpose as well. You know, like we are created with intention and purpose. Like don't ever think that you are just accidental, you know, and that life is not purposeful. Like that you have no purpose in this life. Like don't ever feel that way and don't ever think that way, because God clearly makes you full of purpose. Like don't ever feel like there's no purpose in this life. Like some people just say, it doesn't matter. Nothing, you know, this world is just chaotic. There's nothing, you know, worth living for or whatever. That's not true. The Bible is very clear that we were made with purpose. Because we are made like God, and God is a very purposeful God, that means like we are the same sort of kind of creature. Like we have purposes in life. Like we have intentions in life that we ought to be, you know, moving towards. And this is the thing that you need to understand, is that what are those things? Sometimes you need to stop and think, what are those things that make life purposeful? Like what makes life worth living? What makes life purposeful or worth it? You know, what makes life purposeful? And if you're to be honest with yourself, what makes life purposeful is relationships, you know, love, having fun and enjoyment, you know, like this is what makes life like worth living, creating things, work, even though sometimes people don't kind of down work, but actually work is actually very purposeful, because it actually gives us, something to do. Creating things, some people like to do art, or they like music, or they like different things. Like, what is the purpose of life? The purpose of life is like all these things: enjoyment, love, intimacy, relationships, art and, music, creating things, you got to kind of keep thinking about these things about yourself. What makes your life filled with purpose? What makes you happy and enjoyment, and joyful in regards to your life. I think that if you were to kind of write these things down, this is what makes life purposeful. But how do you get to that point? Do you just kind of, just let everything kind of just be coincidental? Is everything just coincidental? Like I'll get happiness if by coincidence, or I'll have good relationships by coincidence, or I'll have love and enjoyment, by coincidence. Like it'll just happen, somehow, some way. No, like you actually have to have purpose behind it. Kind of like what I said yesterday. Structure and order actually lead to more freedom. Like the more structured or the more purposeful and the more intentional your life is, the more happy you'll actually be. The more chaotic, the more just kind of like you don't have any structure in your life, and you're not purposeful in your life, the less happy you're going to be, because like you're just doing things just because, whatever. But if the more purpose that you have, the more structure, the more orderly you are in life, the more that you understand like what your intentions are and what your purposes are in life, you're gonna be a lot more happy. Your work is gonna be a lot more enjoyable. The things that you do and you spend time with people are gonna be enjoyable. You're gonna understand why you hang out with people but more, you know? Sometimes I don't know if you've ever felt that way, like, you know, you're with people and it seems like you're not having any enjoyment, you know, because if everyone's there together just on your phone, that's like miserable, you know, like everyone's just on their phone and never talking to each other, and you guys are never doing anything together. You know, it's kind of like it gets boring. That's when like boringness like actually comes in. You know, like because you don't have any purpose behind what you're doing, it gets boring. Same thing like when you go to church. Like the reason why so many people get bored, you know, at church is because you don't even know why you're there. You know, some people like you're just tired or whatever. But if you realize when you go to church, you know, you're there to worship, you're there to have fellowship. The purpose of church is to grow closer to